Somewhere, right now, a 14-year-old is standing outside a building they've never walked into before. Inside their head, 1,000 questions are already running on a loop. Will anyone talk to me? Will I find where I belong? Will I even be the same person by the end of this year? They don't know it yet, but the next 12 months are about to quietly rewrite almost everything about who they are. This is the life of a new high school student. Level 1, the unknown. Age 14, day 1. The building is bigger than anything they've walked into before. Hallways stretching in every direction, lined with lockers that all look identical, numbered in a system that makes sense to no one on the first try. Somewhere in this maze is a classroom with their name on a seating chart, if they can find it before the bell rings. Every face in the hallway belongs to someone with a history the new student doesn't share yet. Old friend groups that formed in elementary school, inside jokes years in the making, teachers who already know half the room by name. For a moment, it feels like everyone else already knows the rules to a game nobody bothered to explain. Small things become obstacles. Teachers use last names instead of first. A locker combination jams under pressure right as the second bell rings. A wrong turn down an unfamiliar hallway adds 3 minutes to a walk that should have taken 30 seconds. And underneath it all sits one quiet, constant question, repeating itself between classes. Does anyone here actually know who I am? Then, right before lunch, something small happens. A classmate in gym clothes rushing the opposite direction briefly slows down to point toward the right stairwell without making it a whole thing. It lasts 4 seconds. It means nothing and everything. By 3 o'clock, the new student has said maybe a dozen words out loud, total, and most of them were here during attendance. Level 1, day 1, age 14, confidence 82%, friends 0, stress 35%, reputation unknown. Level 2, finding your people. Weeks pass and the hallway slowly stops feeling like a maze, but a new problem quietly takes its place: lunch. 30 minutes, one tray, hundreds of seats, no assigned place to sit, and no teacher to guide the decision. This single choice, repeated every single day, quietly becomes one of the most important decisions of freshman year. Sit with the wrong group, and it can take months to socially recover. Sit with the right one, almost by accident, and an entire friend circle can form within a week. The new student starts noticing the cafeteria's invisible map. The athletes claim the tables near the windows, still half-dressed for morning practice. The gamers cluster by the vending machines, trading strategies between bites. The art kids sit half-turned toward each other, sketchbooks open on their knees, ignoring the noise around them completely. The quiet ones sit at the edges, headphones in, present but unreachable. And somewhere in the middle sits the group everyone seems to orbit around. Not necessarily because they're the kindest, but because they're the loudest, and loud, at this age, gets mistaken for confident. On the 9th day, the new student stands at the edge of the room holding a tray, scanning for an empty seat, when someone from second period English waves them over without making it a whole thing. That single wave quietly rewires the rest of the semester. Some of the friendships formed in these first few weeks will last all the way to graduation, showing up years later in wedding photos. Others will quietly dissolve before winter break. No argument, no explanation, just a slow drift nobody ever names out loud. Level 2, cafeteria map. Friends, 3. Confidence, 74%. Days eaten alone, 4. Group chats joined, 2.
Level 3. The weight increases. By October, the honeymoon period is over. Homework stops feeling optional and starts feeling constant. Teachers who once reminded the class about due dates now expect students to already know them. Projects overlap. Tests stack on top of each other in the same week, sometimes the same day. Extracurriculars, which felt exciting back in September, now compete directly with sleep, and something always has to give. For the first time, the new student realizes something nobody warned them about. High school doesn't reward talent alone. It rewards whoever can organize their time well enough to survive 5 different subjects, each one convinced it's the only class that matters, all demanding attention at once. A math test that should take 20 minutes stretches into 40, the formulas blurring together under fluorescent lights. A group project falls apart when one partner stops replying to messages entirely. Nobody explains what to do when the system itself starts to wobble. The new student just has to figure it out, one missed deadline at a time. Some students adapt fast, building routines, calendars, late-night study playlists, color-coded folders for every subject. Others fall behind almost silently, telling no one, hoping the gap will somehow close itself before report cards go home. Grades start to feel less like numbers on a page and more like identity, quiet proof, at least in their own head, of whether this year is going well or slowly falling apart behind a closed bedroom door. Level 3. Workload spike. Assignments this week, 6. Average sleep, 5.6 hours. Late submissions, 2. Stress, 61%. Hidden truth. Here's what almost nobody says out loud during freshman year. The kids who look the most confident are usually performing it, not feeling it. The loudest voice in the hallway rehearsed that joke twice in his head before saying it out loud. The girl who talks to everyone with total ease spent last night lying awake, wondering if people actually like her or just tolerate her. The boy who seems to belong to every friend group in school is quietly afraid, underneath it all, of belonging to none of them. Confidence at this age is rarely a fixed trait. It behaves more like a costume, put on every morning in front of a mirror, adjusted constantly throughout the day, and taken off the second a bedroom door finally closes at night. Psychologists have a name for the feeling underneath it, the spotlight effect, the sense that everyone is watching and judging far more closely than they actually are. In reality, most classmates are too busy managing their own costume to notice anyone else's seams. For the first few months, the new student assumes they're the only one faking it, the only outsider watching everyone else play a game they already understand. The hidden truth is simpler and stranger than that. They're standing in a hallway full of people doing exactly the same thing, all quietly convinced they're the only one who hasn't figured it out yet.
Reality check. Here's the part the coming-of-age movies always leave out. This year will not resolve itself in one dramatic moment. There is no single scene where the new kid suddenly becomes confident, popular, and certain of who they are. Growth in high school doesn't arrive as a plot twist. It arrives as a slow accumulation of small, unglamorous repetitions. Speaking up once in class, texting first instead of waiting to be texted, sitting at a new table even when it feels uncomfortable, trying out for something and not making the cut, and showing up again anyway. Take tryouts, for example. A student who doesn't make the team the first time around faces 2 choices nobody prepares them for: quietly give up on trying out for anything again, or show up next season a little more prepared, with no guarantee it goes any differently. Most of growing up happens inside that second choice, not the outcome, but the decision to show up again anyway. Some of the friendships from Level 2 will not survive to the end of the year. Some of the confidence built in October will crack again by January for reasons that have nothing to do with anything the student did wrong.
Comparison to classmates, to older siblings, to strangers online with a carefully curated version of their own teenage years keeps creeping back in, no matter how many times it gets consciously dismissed. This is the part that never makes it into the trailer. Becoming yourself isn't one single leveling up moment, triggered by a speech or a haircut or a game-winning shot. It's hundreds of small, invisible ones, most of which won't feel significant at all in the moment, and will only start to make sense much later looking back. Ending reflection. High school doesn't change a person overnight. It changes them one hallway, one lunch table, one hard week at a time. The new student who stood frozen outside the building on day one is still in there somewhere, a little more tired, a little more tested, but no longer standing still. They know a few more names now. They know where they sit. They know which version of confidence is actually theirs and which one was always just a costume. The first day wasn't the end of who they used to be. It was the beginning of finding out who they're becoming. A year from now, someone else will be the one standing frozen outside those same doors, and the version of this student who made it through will probably be the one who says something kind to them in passing.